35 years ago. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work,
diagnostics and racing transmissions,
performance parts and Jeep upgrades,
automotive detailing,
used car sales,
and towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvy difference.
It's worth the drive.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast, Canada's drag racing show. Brandon here, as always, joined my good friend Andrew Stirk. Andrew, how is it going tonight?
Doing well. It's fun hot lapping this back around 1 week later.
It is. We're getting in the groove. You kind of everything's back right where it should be. The laptop hasn't been moved. You're not trying to figure out where it all plugs in. It just stayed there. It was all good. Yeah. Well, mine stayed there at least.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, mine's come out of the shop and clearly not much better than it was, but we're going to survive tonight. We're going to get through, right? So
yeah, it's all we can do. Put out the fight. Andrew, looks like you got some decorating going on in behind you. You're slowly getting that office sorted out.
It's getting there. We're getting there, right? You know those pictures you buy because you just can't say no to the photographer truck because they're great people and they do great things, right?
I've got them, bud.
Yeah, that's just from like 3 weekends of racing. I do not come up to me with a picture of my cars and looking for money. I just can't say no, apparently. So yeah, we're getting there. We're gonna work on this.
Yeah, I hear you. I love it. I got a lot of photos. I got a couple at the last Super Tour event. So yes. I don't have any pictures of the black drags or Daniels that I've been driving all year. So
I
need some.
Yeah, that would be good. Oh, that's a shout out to the photographers out there, right?
That's it.
Saying, folks, right?
Fired out there. Andrew, before we dive too deep into episode 72, I'd like to thank Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service for presenting tonight or helping us present tonight. Located in Jasper, Ontario, Canada, Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service can not only fix all light and heavy duty vehicles, also a dealer for FTI Performance, Jones Transmission Pumps, K&R Performance Engineering Products, Portatree timing systems, and Raystar wheels. Visit the website ogilvysauto.com for more information. We have the online store there, so you just go into shop, check out all the products, all the different brands. Any specific items you might not see there, shoot us a message, shoot us an email. You can message us on Facebook. A lot of folks have been doing that. We have been loading up on the K&R Performance products. It's been crazy so far. A bunch of folks getting ready. We had a few folks that were ready before the end of the year, had their orders in. So that once the season ended, they dove right into it, started tearing their stuff apart. So yeah, anything you want to do, any last minute ideas, things like that, shoot me a message. We got lots of stuff in stock, or at least on the way. Just put in a big order. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how many wiring kits we got, but we got lots ready. And if we don't have it ready for you, we can get it set up.
It's coming. No problem at all.
And I do want to throw a quick info out there. Obviously, as I just said, FTI Performance Transmissions and Converters dealer. If you want to get an order in for something to be brought back, I believe in March, we'll have a trip down, or there will be a trip going down that we can bring back a bunch of stuff. Save, I don't know, depending on what you're getting, $500-$600 in shipping.
That's enough.
Not a bad deal.
Absolutely.
Not a bad deal. So yeah, anything you guys need, anything you're interested in, or looking at upgrades throughout the winter time, shoot us a message. We, any questions, things like that, we can help you out and get you going. I know we have a lot of stuff that I got a lot of ideas for things I want to do, but see how much gets done.
Yeah, well, it's a good opportunity to talk about it tonight.
Absolutely.
There it is.
Absolutely. So if you are tuning in live, be sure to throw us up a comment. Let us know you're here and where you're watching from. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure after the show, go on there, hit the subscribe button. Helps out the show a lot. Also in the chat, any comments, things like that throughout the show, hit them up. We love talking about it.
Yeah, this would be a good opportunity tonight to get into the comment section, right? Ask questions, throw stuff out there, right? The interactivity of the live show in full effect this evening.
Absolutely. Let's have some fun.
Yep.
So Andrew, I would like you to fire off
Sure.
the Canadian countdown tonight.
Yeah, so not basically only had one weekend in between shows, but heck of a weekend. PDRA World Finals. So we'll jump in on this one because great Canadian story here for Kyle Harris, the Kyle Harris Racing Team. So they go into the final weekend with 2 shots at 2 titles. Kyle and his son Ryan. Ryan running it's the 790 juniors. I think it's elite junior dragster. I always have trouble with the names. But both with a shot at the titles. Unfortunately for Ryan, wasn't able to crack the tight field. We've talked about how tight those 790 fields have been for the PDRA, where 32 odd cars and like it's a 792 or 93 bump, just wildly tight. So he finishes 3rd, but his dad, Kyle, ends up with really fairy tale story ending to his year. He goes in with a mathematical chance. And it's one of those loose outside ones where you have to have all of the everything fall into place. He's chasing Michael Furr, who's probably one of the most elite top dragster racers, probably in North America, the world, but multi-time PDRA world champion, fantastic super gas driver, is leading the points. Kyle needs to out-qualify Michael by a couple positions, or at least a couple positions, and then win the event. And he needs Furr to go out in round 1 in order for any of this to take place. Well, sure enough, Kyle, with testing, puts the car on the pole, out qualifies him, and to boot, gets the round 1 matchup. So if you're ever going to have a chance to race for a world title and you want your destiny in your hands, round 1, the guy that needs to go out in round 1 is the guy you got to beat in round 1. Kyle goes out, beats him in round 1. At that point now, he needs to get to the final and win the whole race. He gets down to the final, and in the final, leaves 009. His opponent breaks out by 001, and it's a win the race, win the title, lose the race, lose the title, wins the race, wins the title by just points. I don't have the totals, but it was the slimmest of margins. And Kyle Harris out of, I think it's Burford. I think that's where I've been hitting from, but nonetheless, Canadian PDRA elite top dragster world champions, and a heck of a weekend. I watched most of the finals on Sunday. It's one of the rare PDRA races that ran 3 days, and just exciting all around to watch them compete for the title. So we'll have Kyle on in an episode or 2. I'm not sure which one, but we figured this was a great enough story. We need to talk about this. We've been following them throughout the year. It's basically since March, I guess, is when that kind of kicks off for PDRA, and they've had a fantastic couple years. They've really been a contender last 3, I think, to this point. So
I believe was runner-up or 3rd place, I think, last year in the points.
Oh, maybe it was 2 years ago. He was in contention, I think, top 5 still last year.
Yeah.
We'll speak to Kyle about this because I would love to hear the story. It's a heck of a race series. It's a huge investment to follow it. They do a fantastic job. He's raced the they have a supercharged altered they've raced. They have a supercharged dragster. That is what they competed in this past weekend to win the world title. He's run both this year, I believe, and is the world champion on top of it all. And there's a whole bunch of fast bracket racing conversation I'm really stoked to have over this. So we're going to get Kyle and Ryan on the show. Would love to get Ryan's take on that elite 790 junior class, because that is some wildly close racing as well. But we'll have them on. On top of that, there were other Canadians. It'd be Spencer Hyde also down there for the end of the PDRA. I believe Spencer got down to 4 in Pro Boost. They went a few rounds. And speaking of Spencer, the Winter Pro Mod Series, if you haven't been paying attention to what's happening coming up here, the Drag Illustrated folks who put on the World Series of Pro Mod, and then the Skag Pro, I don't know what they call that nitro show they put on, but the all-star race basically that happens in Bradenton. Yeah. They're putting on a Winter Pro Mod Series, and it's an invite only. Spencer's got the invite. Jay Santos as well, Canadians, got the invite for the 3-race Pro Mod deal. I believe it starts in February-ish. It runs through the World Series. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of race teams looking for some temporary storage in Georgia, Florida, and any other places, because there's a whole bunch of rigs going to be heading down there probably after PRI to start testing and getting ready for this. So some great racing coming up for us, even though the winter's just starting. It won't be long till we get to cheer on some Canadian friends on online racing for big money.
Absolutely. That Pro Boost class for the PDRA, I was just looking at the couple of qualifying sheets where you were giving the rundown. Pro Boost, the bump was 362.
Yeah,
That's wild. That's
yeah,
flying.
it was a mine shaft in Virginia, but that was an unreal number, right? I think even 359 didn't get you in the top half of the field potentially.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that's it's fun stuff.
Wild weekend.
Yeah, just unreal. Additionally, coming up, we've got WDRA World Finals. This is essentially the last. Not the last big bracket race, obviously, but we've got a bunch of Canadians heading south. WDRA has been posting over the last week or so of all the no box, sportsman, box, motorcycle, and junior participants going to be heading down. We have a long list of Canadians who some have already left this past weekend. I saw the Talbot brothers were geared up and heading southbound for a leisurely drive down to Montgomery. That's what it is. I knew I'd remember it. The short turnaround's helping me here from last week. So we got folks already starting to make their way down. So that racing should start kicking off, I guess, Thursday or Friday, leading into the weekend World Championship runoff. So going to have the TV on in the background.
Yes, I was going to say we'll be on Motor Mania TV, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, they'll have live broadcast on it. So they'll have a warm-up race. There's a free 5K, which has been one of the signature races for the WDRA, and they get into the World Championship runoffs. So it's going to be fun. We've got a long list of really competitive racers. Not that there isn't a list of competitive racers probably heading to the World Championship, but we've certainly got some of the best heading down there for us this year. Absolutely.
Should be good. I wanted to hit. That's pretty much it for the Canadian countdown, right? The Canadian portion of it, right? There's no racing now. Actually, no, Naperville did have a race. I didn't see that. Mike Reynolds, the only result I really have from that weekend, Mike Reynolds did, I believe, ran himself in the finals.
I think that's what I saw.
Sunday.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. Nice, dedicated that win to the late Carl Jessup. So that was a cool deal, and good for Mike getting out there. One last win. Naperville's always got some great October racing, so that was a fun deal. If you were watching racing on the weekend, you might have been watching the Great American 500, at Montgomery, Alabama. Kind of replaced the original $1 million race. That was kind of always the weekend for it in Montgomery for the last 8 to 10 years, give or take. Before they moved to St. Louis, so. Great American bracket race came in there, started doing the 500K. I just want to talk about the semifinal for a quick sec, how stacked it was. Door car side was Jeff Serra versus Sherman Adcock. And the
in a super gas roadster.
And Corey Galletti versus Kevin Brandon. So that's 4 cars for 500K. Like those are the races that the best guys show up and do the best at. Especially that time of year, right? That's it. You're laying all your cards out on the table. I know there's still racing happening, but that's a major one to finish the year. And I don't know. I didn't get to watch any of the race, but when I saw all the recapping and things like that, highlights from it, and I saw that final four, I'm like, that's wicked. That's pretty cool.
I think I watched it from about 30 on down. I had it on in the background. Weekend spent sick, which can't work on race cars. We'll go watch race cars. So watched it, and just some unreal race. I mean, the entire week was filled with unreal racing, unreal stories with Chris Bear. Put up just an unreal run between, I think it was Wednesday and Thursday, where he won the Wednesday race. It moved over into Thursday morning, wins the 40K, goes on a run, and I think it's down to 16 cars. Just a massive, tally of win lights to make the split. I think if I look back, he made the split every day. There's a lot of great stories, a lot of great racing that came out of that weekend. Had a few Canadian friends down there, and Jamie Tupper down there wheeling cars. So I think Jamie might have been the only one that I was aware of. Again, I didn't get to catch a lot of the earlier rounds, earlier being everything from round 5 going backwards, to be honest. But just it certainly lived up to the billing watching that.
Yeah. It always blows my mind. I don't know how much fuel these guys bring.
You just leave it there.
That's what I think. I'm like, you got to be just stacking it up there, because the amount of runs guys like Chris Bear make in a weekend like that when they're on, it's unbelievable. So,
and you get a run like that doubled, right? I mean, if you just think of one entry, the amount of round wins he had to put
Yeah.
up for a single, and I'm almost positive he would have been doubled just because that's the nature of the beast
That's
when you're
it.
down there.
Yeah.
Racing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I always enjoy watching that, and I would really love to go to that event. Having been to Montgomery, had a fun time there back when it was the OG Million. Have run in Great American Bracket Race events when we've gone down to the team races back in 2017, I think it was. Galen and Britt put on just awesome races. The only downside about the whole thing is you got to travel about 20 hours to go find one because that's where they're at. But it's worth every hour of driving. But one of these days we'll make that work.
That's it. Absolutely. Sandra, we kind of started hitting on it last week. And that's what, how kind of transition into this week now. We want to do an evaluation of our 2024 race season. So it's a lot to kind of think about, right? There's a lot. We had some goals and things that we had set for ourselves at the start of the year. Before we do dive in, I do want to bring on our special guest. This is a surprise one, right? Nobody was even ready for it.
No.
Oh, Rachel, I don't know if you're on mute. We can't hear you. But
oh, yeah, I was on mute.
There you go.
Surprise! Here I am.
Producer Rachel, this is great. I don't think all three of us have ever been on the show together, have we? Is this a first?
I think it is a first.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I know. I usually fill in for one of you guys, so I mean, this is a real special occasion.
There you go.
Yeah. We got to do. Obviously, this was a huge year for Rachel. Right, a lot of big changes. We did our. I don't know. When we did the show, Rach, we were listening to it just before, and we talked about when it was just you and I on. We discussed how we felt about the year upcoming, what we were looking for, how we expected it to go. Obviously, at that point in time, you still hadn't been in a race car with a baby.
I was just listening to the episode before I came on here because I was like, what did I say my goals were? I wanted to remember, and it was the week after we got back from Edgewater. And we were talking about our cursed Ohio adventures. And
yes.
Brandon wasn't off to a good start, and I hadn't been behind the wheel, so we were like Debbie Downers, I feel like, that episode.
The bar was a little low maybe on that one.
Yeah,
right?
It was.
My number one goal was I just want to remember how to drive the race car at like the beginning of the episode. So yeah, we were shooting like real low, and then by the end of it, things were getting a little bit better. We were like, okay, what do we actually want to do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rach, then, since we kind of started it there, we'll start with you for this. So we'll go through first. I guess all individually. We'll talk about how our year went. So, Rachel, what was your recap of the year? Kind of what were the highlights, big results for you, and the struggles for 2024?
Yeah, I think I could say the struggles first. I guess really.
They're the easier ones to think of, right?
Yeah. I'm like right off the bat. And we'd mentioned it even the last time I was on the call was what was it going to be like to be a racer and a parent or a mom at the same time. And as much as it was a struggle during certain times, it wasn't honestly exactly what I thought it would be at all. We do have like the most amazing racing community. And so there were so many people there to help me. Even the last weekend in Naperville, we didn't have anyone like honestly to help us. Like every one of my family members was racing, and we usually try to have like a wife or a friend or somebody who's not racing that we can like kind of dedicate like the Alex babysitter in between rounds. And that weekend we didn't have it. And then, out comes Troy. He just knows, right? Like people just know now, there's a little baby, somebody needs to watch her in between rounds, and Linda was there. Like there's just so many different people. Becky that was there to help. So as much as I thought that was going to be a struggle, and at times it definitely still was, like when she's sick or whatever, but it wasn't as big of a struggle as I thought. So I think, I don't know, it's like a struggle, but like not really a struggle. But in terms of kind of my mindset going into the season was, I wanted to remember how to drive the car. I was a little nervous about that. And then my biggest weakness always with racing was being able to hit the tree. So I kind of went in like guns blazing, ready to, really get after the tree. I was like, if I can't do this, like, maybe this is it. Like, I think I go into that every year with like a really negative mindset almost. I'm like, okay, if I can't hit the tree, like I'm just gonna quit. And somehow that makes me better. I don't know. It's
that
really
negative angle always helps, right?
yeah. Like I'm like, it doesn't make any sense when I say it out loud, but literally like every weekend I would get to the racetrack and I would be like, okay, this is gonna be really hard, but I love racing and I want to do this and I want to win. Obviously winning is the goal, but like let's just hit the tree and let's just like prove to everybody here that I don't completely suck. So let's at least show them something, like anything. Give us a couple round wins. Like, yeah, it was like I was just, giving myself a little pep talk before every weekend. And yeah, it somehow it worked. Like I don't even know because I feel very proud of how my season went. And I think the most notable thing that people saw was the Super Tour points. And for me personally, like the Super Tour is the biggest, the best. That's it for me. Like that's the biggest thing that I kind of focus on every year. I don't go to the $1 million races or any of the really fancy races down there. The Super Tour is as big as it gets for me, and so I was in the top 10 probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago now, and I really wanted to get back into the top 10. And it was after the third Super Tour race, I was in like 15th place, and I was like, oh God. And then I got to 11th place, and it was like such a tease because I was like 200 points away or 300 points away or something from being in the top 10. And I just kept saying to Brandon, I'm like, please God, like just give me like that extra like round win or like something. Like all I want is to get top 10. And I just, yeah, there was a couple weekends where I just like I couldn't get a round win to save my life. And I was like, all right, forget it. Like I don't even know why I set goals for myself because I was so defeated.
The dream is over, right?
Yeah. And then Naperville was the last points race of the series for Super Tour. And on Saturday, I was live. I think I won first round, I won second round, and then I lost third round. And I was like, that's it. Like the people ahead of me, like these are the best racers that I race against. There's no way I'm getting in front of them. Like Phil Harvey's like right there. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna pass Phil Harvey in the points. So anyways, I went into Sunday and I think it was like first time trial. I go in the lanes and like my starter, like it's catching or something. And
that was Saturday.
Was that Saturday?
That was Saturday.
Either way.
Yeah. Saturday was the disaster morning.
Yeah. And as soon as that happened, I was just like, you know what? This is like somebody is in the world right now is just, this is it. Like, this is the end of my weekend. Stop trying. You're not getting in the top 10. Like, just accept it. Like, you're done. But yeah, so then anyways, come Sunday, whatever, I'm still in this negative mindset. Clearly I've already decided I'm not getting in the top 10. And then I go to 5th round live and we're driving home from the racetrack and I'm like, oh, I really don't know if I did it. Like, I'm like, I just don't, I didn't think I did good enough to get in the top 10. So I was like so defeated. And then it took like 3 weeks for the points to be posted. So every day I would just wake up and I would be like,
refresh,
oh my God,
refresh.
like, is today the day that I'm going to be disappointed when I see my name in 11th? Or like even worse, what if I like went down and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, the middle of a work day and I'm detailing a car at work and Brandon comes running up and he like puts the phone in front of me and I see my car picture and I'm like, is that a 6th beside my name? And he's like, yeah, you're in 6th. And I'm like, I went from 11th to 6th on a weekend that I literally came home like crying from because I thought I didn't do good enough. So that was definitely the highlight of my season. And yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. I felt really proud of myself for consistently hitting the tree and going rounds. I didn't win a race all year, which is funny to like be in that top 10 or like be recognized for like having a good season, but then I still felt like I had nothing to show for it. So that was kind of cool.
But you had a consistent season because you consistently were going rounds for sure. Right. Yeah. And that's the big thing, right? That's the thing that sometimes with points racing, can actually be the big attribute to it, where you don't have that peak. Okay, I didn't get a win, but the points will reflect what your consistency was, which it did in this case, right?
Yeah. And it was funny too, because like all of like our close racing friends, they would be like, "You had such a good weekend," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it. Like I'm not sitting in the Warner Circle. I didn't, I sometimes I would go live like a couple rounds, but I wasn't in the money. So I was like, I'm trying so hard, and I have nothing to show for it. And then I'm like, I guess it's just a love-hate relationship with the sport, because I'm like, that's just the reality of what we do. Like we fully signed up for that. But yeah.
That's how it goes. Absolutely, it is. We all here recognize the struggle there. I did want to switch around to your struggle that you had talked about with having people watch Alex and the racing community and things like that, and how everybody stepped up in the racing family to help us out. Butch Douglas actually reminded me of that in his comment through Max out there, Max Goche. I did. Where is it? Right. A prime photo. We got Maxie babysitting Alex, taking care. This is the stress of watching my kid at the racetrack. Max got a handle.
Right to sleep.
High maintenance.
That's how Maxie had her handle. So I just wanted to throw that in there. That was all part of the struggle, right? And that's how it goes.
We really appreciate it.
We do. We love that, right? And then those times that she's gonna be able to look back on and really remember those.
And Max really getting some experience, right? When we talk about things we've learned from this, he really got some good experience in life there from other angles. So
he did. So Rach, you a little bit hit on that. What are your takeaways from these results? We got a couple notes here, and like we can go back and forth a little bit on it. I don't know what attributed to I guess the highs and the lows of your year.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think about this before the show, and I was like, it's kind of hard, but I think the biggest one that I keep going back to every time is like, I just want to do it for Alex. Like I want her to have, like, I want her to look at mom and be like, "Mommy, I'm so proud of you. Like I'm proud that you didn't give up on something that was really hard for you." And everyone knows, like, it's no secret. Like I've always struggled with racing. I love it so much. I will never quit, but I've always had a struggling career. And I didn't want her to, grow up and then me quit, or like me not race anymore. And then, "Mommy, why don't you race anymore?" Like, and that kind of looms over my head like every weekend. And so when I get in the car and I try and focus, the first thing I think about is like, I just want to make her proud. And then obviously, like, I want to make Brandon proud too. I'm like, I have a husband that is really, really good in this sport. Like, I don't want to be like the sucky wife beside, like I'm all for being the supportive wife, but I'm like, I think it would be so much cooler if we could just like both dominate. So it's more, I think I do it more for them now than I do it for myself. And that has brought like a whole new like meaning to it and like a whole new joy. So yeah, I've really been enjoying that.
And through that, you guys had at least one huge highlight this year at the Shannonville, right? Where
I forgot about that.
Yeah, where you raced each other in the final. Now, in my world, that might have been a split and quit, because I'm not sure that would have worked out for me. Had I had to race Jess in the final round, I just would have flat out, it's a lose-lose proposition on my end. But you guys had a fantastic time, which back to the dynamic of now you two being at the tracks by yourselves and the hard reality of who's looking after the baby when you got to race each other, right? Through both the track and the racing family comes together for you. But a proud moment as a friend of both yours to watch you both in the final round. I was really hoping to see a split and quit, because I wasn't sure. I couldn't cheer for anyone, right? But at the same token, I was a little bit cheering for Rachel more than Brando. I got to be honest.
Of course. I think everyone was. I think if you were cheering for Brandon, like, no. But anyways, I'm glad that he won. But yeah, the trophy that sits in our living room every day that haunts me. Yeah. Bittersweet feelings for sure. Yeah, there it is, right there. Oh, he moved it to the office, so that's good.
But just like an awesome year for you, right? Because what a moment for both of you. But particularly yourself, where like that was a big moment in the year, right? For you to get to a final round, right? And in some tough racing, right? Shannonville's not one of those places where it's hard rounds, right? So for you to be able to do
really
that.
Cool. Yeah, like and Shannonville in general, just obviously like it has a lot of history, it has a lot of meaning to Brandon's family, and that's where my first win was in junior. So there's a lot of like, yeah, I don't know, like it's a very sentimental place for us, and so yeah, it was really cool because it was one of those weekends where we weren't supposed to go racing. I had to drive to London to go to a bridal shower for my best friend, and I literally said, why don't we just go to Shannonville on the Saturday because it's 2 hours closer to London, and then we will have people to watch Alex while I go to the baby shower on Sunday. And that's literally the only reason we went to Shannonville. So it's just funny that it worked out like that, with that we woke up on Saturday morning and then somehow like I literally went live to the finals and I was like, what is going on? Like, but yeah, it was so cool, and Brandon's whole family was there. So yeah, it was a really special moment. And I guess I did kind of go to the winner's circle, but yeah, it was super cool.
Big moment.
Yeah,
big moment for
it
sure.
it was great. Rach, what changes do you want to make next year? Where do you want to go? What's 2025 look like for you, or what do you hope it looks like for you? What are some improvements with whether that's with the race car, with your own racing, things you want to keep doing? Do you have any goals like that set yet, or anything you've been thinking about?
I had a lot of fun when we went to Numidia. I feel like that was really cool. We talk about, kind of picking like a couple new places each year to check out, and adding some more, not like fun races. I feel like every weekend is fun, but I don't know, just like different races that we haven't been to before. That's always a goal. Like check out a new spot. That for sure. I definitely want to continue to like, I feel like I was on a good pace for the most part for being consistent on the tree and like being consistent round wise, but I guess now would be like actually getting, to the final round and actually, winning a race. Clearly there's some consistency there, so hopefully I can keep it up and then seal the deal. So that would definitely be more of a focus. And then yeah, I don't know, I mean, it sounds like pretty insane to say, but like you were the dragster champion in the Super Pro this year, and like I was like the next dragster behind you, so
Second place in dragster.
Maybe there's like top 3 or something up there. So we're gonna keep trying for that.
Absolutely, it's tough. It's tough out there. Tough to keep it going back. And I know you'd like to go a little faster too, maybe.
Oh yeah. I feel like that's a given. I hope my dad's watching this right now because I've been bothering him a lot this year. I'm like, okay, I know how to drive the car. I did pretty good. So are we getting a faster motor now, or what are we doing? But yeah, I'm.
Thank God for that Ogilvy Performance Division that can get all those Brodex heads and those Wiseco pistons and everything else, right?
I've been driving this race car now for 10 years, and I'm going 5.0. So can we go a little quicker? That would be the goal. I don't know if it's gonna happen. That I have no control over that, but yeah, I'm always asking if there's a way for me to go quicker. I would 480s, 470s. I would take that. I would appreciate that.
There's always a way to go quicker. It's just cubic inches or compression or a blower.
Yeah. How many more hours at the garage do I need to work for you to invest in a better motor for me?
That's how it goes. Andrew.
Yeah.
You had a pretty good year.
We did. This was an interesting one because I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And again, I didn't get to participate in the goal setting show as much as behind the scenes. I kind of had goals, which predominantly was to survive, being that we were deciding to go on this epic journey across North America, or at least that's what it felt like when I looked at it on paper. But like overall from the start of the year, it was just I'm a big proponent of having like 3-year plans. And you talk about a lot in business, those who are in the entrepreneurial world or whatnot, you kind of always have that 3-year plan, right? And that's usually how the foundation works. And with our traveling, I kind of had this 3-year plan, which was last year, hit the road, which we certainly did, more on a whim than we did this year, but which was, learn what you need to learn to figure out how to go rounds in different places, right? And go figure like, what are you missing, right? And we certainly traveled up and down the northeast, north central, depending on how we were located. And I learned how to lose. I learned how to lose quite a bit. I had some success too. This year was take those lessons and figure out how to go back to the same places or similar spots and, turn on wind lights, right? You've experienced what it's like to be on the road, right? Go put 8 hours in and then wake up the next morning and be good, right? Versus, the the whim of like, wow, I'm not at home. I'm not in Kansas anymore, if you will, right? And that whole thing. So the goal was to go be competitive, come off the trailer and be good. And we certainly did that. I had what I felt like was a really good year. The tail end was a bit difficult, but then said some highlights in it that kind of came out of left field. We ended up with a 5K win, a 3K win, both in the Corvette, which was kind of funny because that's the car that has been out of the win column for what seems like the longest, right? It's been a great car and been working on it, and I'll kind of get to more of what I'd like to do with it, but it's been my weapon of choice, but never been able to finish the deal with it, and certainly was able to. Picked up a couple, I had a couple runner-ups, I think, a couple semis in 10K races, made a couple splits in like big money races. So the ace races, we got down to 5, which again was kind of a goal, right? Like I just wanted to be in the mix when split discussions happened in regard to what it was, and was able to do that. Also learned that apparently past about 10 p.m. I am not very good if it's an early start. So we'll add that to the list of things to talk about to improve on next year. But yeah, good year overall. Wasn't the Super Tour points, but just didn't chase them. Did pick some other races to go to that we had on our calendar, so missed some events. B, was willfully terrible in the early rounds. So the races I did go rounds, I did not have good point scores to go along with my runner-ups or my semis, or I'd go rounds on a non-Super Tour weekend at Luskville and, would have some change in my pocket to show for it, but no points to put on the board. Mm-hmm. So my consistency was my biggest struggle when it came to that. But then again, on the big money scale, I really had that idea that I didn't need to go 5 rounds everywhere I went as much as you want to. I just, if I could be good today and tomorrow wasn't great, I could be better on Sunday, and certainly worked with the whole short memory thing to make sure that we could get ourselves back into the payout window as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Definitely is a different mindset between a points series and just a big money event, right? When you look at just, winning the day is what matters now, not that you don't have that long-term goal kind of in the back of your mind for the grinding out the year, or grinding out the day. Yeah. Andrew, you had 3 cars you were driving this year. Success in some, not success in another. Yeah. What are the kind of the takeaways? Because with the equipment that you had going, right, there were struggles, as there always is in certain ones. You did talk about the Corvette being kind of the golden choice this year. Yeah, so I ran. So I had the Corvette. I had my own Mustang, which is like a 620, 630 8th mile car, and then had my brother's Mustang, which was kindly loaned to me in case he's watching or will watch this or listen to it later after he likes, subscribes on the YouTube channel, if he hasn't already, as I said. I got loaned in. It's a 530, depending on where you're at, 540 door car, right? Fast, a lot of fun to drive. And vastly different than the other 2 altogether. And my Mustang I struggled with. We've built a new motor. We put a new converter in it. Like, we changed converters. We've had a bunch of work, gears, tires, and still struggled. And I think I'm, to get to the end of it, I think I'm at a suspension changeover. So it's the thing that will change. I'll jump ahead a touch here on it. But whereas Ian's car, we kind of had an accidental improvement. Had an unfortunate issue at the start of the year where I had a few issues go wrong, and it took out a converter. And in doing so, we had to make some changes to the car. We grabbed another converter, FTI converter. But unfortunately, I think the transmission took the old FTI out, and we made a few other changes, and it loosened up the stall. And I've been a big proponent of, after seeing success in my car, of the wildly loose converters. Like I don't think I have anything now that stalls less than 6,700 in any of the cars. And if it doesn't stall 6,700, I'm a little disappointed now. That's kind of where I'm at, right? And it made a world of difference. Once we got that car back together in the fall and running again, once I parked my car, it was a weapon. And it's a gas car, but there was days there where it was going 539. I could just print 539 on the windshield, which at that point also meant I needed to become a really good driver, because now the car was awesome. So lack of success was going to be on me, not, the wrench throwing at a car going stupid car, right? But learned a lot from them, because we went back, and now with Ian's car, we are
much more dialed in than I feel we were a year ago once we made some of these alterations to it, right? And minor stuff again, but it wasn't, sometimes it's little things that all of a sudden make these big differences. And the vet just flat out was nasty. I mean, I'm going to throw some shocks at it, I think, this winter, just because I've got some stuff on the back that I'm a little self-conscious about saying how long they've been on there and how many road miles those ones probably have on them, to be honest with you. The gentleman I'm speaking to about putting shocks on there was a little surprised as well. So that's not always good. And the shock guy goes, they're still alive, are they? Like, well, I don't know. I guess so, right? Holding the car up or controlling the car. But like since I put the little bubbas on it and moved up to that 540, 550 range with it, which is, again, we have another motor getting built for it, which I think should put it into the 540s all the time and kind of be a sweet spot, I think, for that setup and that chassis. It's been just an unreal car. Like, it's been the car that there were times where I want to double it, as much as it's not really the good gas doubler in July at 90 degrees. When it's printing tickets the way it is, it's really hard to say no. But and then my car, the Mustang, will get some work done to it. But like it's we learned a lot from them. Some of it through accidental finds, which is funny at times when that happens. You're like, I never thought that would be better. And all of a sudden you do it to everything else, and everything else is better now, right? But it's certainly been an interesting aspect from that standpoint.
Absolutely. What changes do you plan on making to the entire fleet of race cars that you kind of, I don't want to say like have at your disposal, but have the opportunity to get behind the wheel of? What are some physical combination changes or race car changes that are happening this winter to this point, right?
As every day that the Motor State order rolls into the shop as a Motor State dealer in this part of the world, that plan develops and moves on again and again. So we're going to, I'm looking to get a set of rims set up. I want to get the little Bubba's on Ian's car. We've been running a 15-inch beadlock setup on it. And after looking at like what Mike Chenier's done on the big Bubba on his car, what I've done with my little Bubba's, seeing a bunch of other door cars with that type design, Mickey Thompson tire on it, it's been just ridiculously good. And I think Ian's car would, like, that's that last little, piece, I think, that would make that car go from just awesome to, I think I might buy it if I had the money off him type of thing. They don't own it to it anymore. But just that type of change on it. I'm going to bring the Camaro back out. I saw Mike with a comment there. We do still have the Superstock 69 Camaro. The funny part with it is I kind of put it aside. I was struggling a bit trying to get it figured out while working the other two cars. So you had this stable, and I know it's a first world problem where I've too many cars to focus on, and it's the real world issue. I parked the Camaro because I just needed to figure out what we were doing with the other two. And now that I know, I've learned a bunch, the dyno is made, it's an unreal amount of information we gathered off it, even just on carb tuning, which I'll get to. I'm going to bring the Camaro back out. We're going to put it into bracket mode on it, like put the scoop on it and put a rack in it, because God knows I cannot handle a steering box. If you've ever driven an old car with a steering box and not a rack and pinion, go 130 mile an hour or a quarter mile, like 115, and it is not fun. I don't know how people do that, and kudos to you if you've done it, but it's not my thing. So I'll make a few changes with it and get it out. But I think now that I have an idea what I want to do with gearing, converters, power ranges, how to make heavy stuff consistent, because I've learned that a bit with my Mustang. I have an idea of what I want to do with that car now. It's a bit of a struggle because it's such a vast departure from where we're at. It's a 3,600 pound car. Everything else I have, heavy used to be 3,100 pounds, and that was heavy and slow. Now I've got a car that's 500 pounds more and bigger. But we're going to bring it back out, give a shot at it. I got a couple motors that could go into it. The dyno will be the end. And to be quite frank, I'm going to spend just about as much as I can this winter messing with the dyno and carbs. We messed around with air fuel on the air bleeds, being able to change the fuel curve. And the amount of stuff we picked up on that, just scratching the surface on it, was what I felt was wild. We had a couple combinations that when I started messing around with that, I felt I was just starting to figure it out. So plan is to get a couple of the carbs that I've got with a couple of the motors, get them on the dyno, get a few days of tuning in different air conditions and try to manipulate the air and get a real handle on that. Because even going from, weight racing in the hills of Ohio, like Dragway 42, there's not a lot of barometer, right? It's a low barometer setting. In Bristol, hot and low barometer. we were able to make some changes on the air bleeds and the carb itself that really helped the cars. It made them so that they were much more dialed in. Going to those tracks, even before I got there, we were making changes. And then being able to come, back to Napierville, which is a mine shaft, just an like Quebec is a mine shaft in general, Luskville and Napierville, but also now make those fuel changes and all of a sudden the cars react. And yes, they picked up, but they were back to being predictable because we had to lean them out when we went south and find some power to make them work. Well, lean isn't going to be better in that line shaft. We need to fatten them back up, but to where they were right. So the changes I'm looking to make this winter is to understand that better, get a better handle on that scale versus just knowing I need to do it, but just, okay, where is that, right? And things of that nature. And the Corvette, I think I'm just going to put in the corner and just buy some shocks and clean it and tell it how nice it is and just be as nice as I can to that thing, right? So it's been very good.
Absolutely. Hopefully I get to experience some dyno time with you and all the knowledge that you're undertaking. Hopefully I get to drop something off there soon and we can see what we can make of it over the winter.
Empirical data. I'm taking that from Stinnett when I watched it. Empirical data, which is just real world experience, and I am planning to gain a whole bunch of it if I can.
That's the spirit. So that's race car changes. Andrew, any changes you're going to do from a driver perspective, from how you race or what you want to do or things like that?
So one of the takeaways and what I like to do, I've gotten into the habit at the end of the seasons is kind of looking at just how we got to the season. Where was the flaw? I've certainly struggled with the cars over the years. I've had times where the Mustang's been the great car, the Corvette's been the great car. They've swapped. I've had championships where I parked one to drive the other and flip back and forth. And this is the first year that I felt like, other than some minor issues with my Mustang, that the cars were really good. For once, I wasn't chasing the cars and going like, stupid race car. The foible was sometimes me. Back to what I was saying, that at a certain point in those long days, I found I was really falling off the cliff, and that was the problem. You get down to the nitty gritty. As much as you pump yourself up, I found the energy level was poor, which is kind of ironic. Adrenaline was high, but adrenaline only take you so far. So I think one of the things I'm looking at doing is spending more time hitting the practice tree. I certainly see the results when we go to the bracket or the Winter Rumble and the winners that are coming out of it and going on to precedingly have great seasons. I get it. I see it. Jordan Crow being one of the ones heading south. We know where Brock has done previous years and then going on to win a championship. I was not as good letting go of the button as I needed to be through multiple rounds, whether that was going red at an opportune time because, pulled numbers out because you're teen, and all of a sudden you really hit it good, or conversely, letting go 74 at a totally inopportune time, right? Just because, you're just kind of losing it. Do better at that. Mainly because the cars are so good. They've gotten that good. So, figure out how to keep the energy level up, work on some diet. That is one of the things at the racetrack, to be quite frank with you. Now that, I'm not scrambling between rounds and doing stuff. And then these long days is just figuring out how to find an even keel and get a good idea how to get through that through the winter and then work on the practice tree and get consistent, let go good. I really spent too much of the year thinking about how I'm letting go of the button. And once I figured that out and got good with it, it was just a matter of, okay, let's do this repetitively. And naturally, I didn't practice at all. I just went from one race to the other, hoping it worked. So that's the winter project, right? So, it's self-guided stuff. You go home, you're like, I'm going to do this week in between working the normal job and every other things with kids. We're going to practice. No, we're not.
Yeah.
But in the winter now we have time.
We say the same thing too. Like it's a dead obvious thing. What are you going to do? Hit the practice tree in the winter. What never happens? Hitting the practice tree.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you got to set that goal.
It's always a goal. It's always there.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it to the top now. I've got it. I was lucky. I was able to pick up a full size tree. I have the practice, like the practice trees. I have to hook up to it. It's in the shop. It's literally right beside where I'm going to work on the cars, where motors are coming in and out. I have no excuse to not hit this thing. It's right there, and it is set up as such, right? I tried it beside my desk where I'm in my office here last winter. Evidently, I just stared at it a lot, similar to what I did most of the summer, just staring at it, thinking I should probably let go of buttons and don't. So we're going to set it up in a different spot and see if we get after it a little bit more. But that's what I'm going to work on, I think, is me. The cars, that's the big change, I think, is we need the driver to be better, because I think the cars have been fantastic.
Absolutely. Can't complain about that for a year then, right? And the results do show you did have a great year, and we're a strong competitor, right? And even in those long days that you had, that Dragway 42, that was the Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Was the Friday one that you were doubled really late, and like that's a long day, right? And that was difficult. And you did talk about, you know, kind of the car and the combination there not being the ideal one to double, being the Corvette.
Perfect scenario to make it happen. Yeah,
absolutely, it has to roll.
Yeah.
So that was great, right? Can't complain about that. There are little details, obviously, that you know you want to go back and change, but overall, we're rolling on this, and you know the BS tour has been lighting it up pretty well. This year and getting better.
Yeah. As we applied knowledge, the fun part with Ted was as we found out things on you know some of my cars and his car, right? We made some changes, but we found a few things and made some changes to his setup and saw that, right? Not only reinforced the whole, okay, we know what we need to do. Like some of the stuff was not easily done in season on the dots and then my stuff too. But as we applied that knowledge, we had kind of a moment at Bristol where we both had an aha moment. A little late in the week, unfortunately, but we applied it and it worked. It just, you know, don't do it on Saturday morning of the last day of the race and, you know, hope to go to the winner's circle. You're asking a lot, but it worked and whatnot. So that sort of stuff. It was fun with Ted this year. We'll do it again. I'm not sure what we're going to call the 2025 version of the BS Tour. We need to come up with a different name.
Yeah, I love the name.
Shirts, but yeah, there was a lot of BS over the years. So,
yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. That was good,
Brandon. This works for you because I like this is actually great. I like this conversation. I really was excited to do this because we've had, you know, we come from 3 different spots with I think I want to say 3 different kind of goals and how we went about there. I mean, Rachel's car worked fantastic all year long. It was a great setup. I had great stuff with stuff breaking, so I was constantly trying to figure out what I could put into this, what I could work with, right, outside of the one thing. Brandon had a fantastic year, and I would say based on the championship you had, maybe one of the better years out of all 3 of us in this sense. You had a vastly different route to how you got to that versus how we did with my multi-cars, with Rachel's just Superman car. You know, how was your year based on the fact we know you're the championship? I don't want to gloss over that by any means, but here's a good opportunity to give us a rundown and just, you know, what your takeaways were from that.
Yeah, kind of Rachel alluded to it a little bit earlier when we were listening to the episode at the start of the season. Just after I broke my fast engine at Edgewater in April. So that's how 2024 started, right? Down in the dumps, swapped it over, put the spare in, took it out for a weekend. It wasn't happy. Ended up taking it out after one weekend and put it away. Sold that race car that I've ran for over 10 years now, and had, you know, awesome success in and did a lot with that. But yeah, sold that one. I don't know. To that point, I was I was wishy-washy on how the year was going to go. I wasn't sure how I felt about going racing. You know, I was driving Daniel's car, great race car. I just wasn't, I wasn't convinced at the start of the year that this was the time to do it. Kind of had a little bit of a whatever on my shoulder that I had to do something. I always do, right? I always kind of put the chip on the shoulder that, you know, if you want to keep doing this, you gotta be good, because if not, then we can't afford to go through everything that we're doing. Mm-hmm. Same thing that Rach said, right? We're not quitting this anytime soon, or we're not getting out. But it's kind of one of those things you put on yourself. So yeah, just kind of grind through the year. I was trying some different stuff. Really was happy with my tree this year. That's been a strong suit of mine for a long time. Last 2 years, I think I struggled with that a lot more than I should. Found a lot of red lights this year. Pushing too hard, trying too hard to be perfect every time. But yeah, just that was the big thing, was just if the year was a grind for me to get it done, right? Obviously with life changing, living here in Jasper, that's a different lifestyle. Now we've done it for a year and a half, I guess, almost. So still adjusting to that, adjusting to having a baby. and how everything looks at the racetrack. Obviously, it's not as many of those responsibilities fall on my shoulders as do Rachel when it comes to Alex. Then we did a lot more racing together. So more of the race car responsibilities was on me, which is fine. But yeah, just kind of figuring that all out. But that's how I define it. I guess the full recap is just grind all year, right?
Yeah,
I did get 2 wins. Sorry, Rachel. I did get 2 wins. Got a win against Rachel at Shannonville, we talked about, and then got a win in Rachel's car at Lusville. So Rachel plays a big part in both of those wins. And I don't know, like when you look at the Super Tour results, obviously the championship was huge and wasn't. I don't know. You always want to win the championship. Like that wasn't. I didn't come into the year, as I said earlier. Like I didn't come in thinking, "Oh yeah, this is the year I'm winning." I didn't want to. I don't know, Andrew. You get it from having a baby, and then kind of when are you going to be good again, right? You were really good, then life kind of got in the way. You had a kid, whatever. Well, when are you going to start? When are you going to be able to be a good racer again, right? And then everybody thinks that's going to impact it, and now you're just washed up and done, and I can understand why it's a lot to handle at home.
When you say it's a grind, there's a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of grinds going on all at once, right?
Yeah. So then to get through that was what I wanted to do. Was I wanted to prove to myself and everybody else, I realized that not everybody cares what I do, right? But just in your mind, you're like, everybody's looking at you when I'm driving lanes. You're like, oh, well, he's, you got a kid now and used to be good and used to be whatever. So you want to take that away. Now, I didn't go out and have an all-star year by any means, but 3 semifinal finishes of the tour races. I want to say maybe one of those races I got beat in. The rest of them, I lost the race. That's not taken away from whoever, but there was a mistake that I made that gave up that round. Obviously, the other racer didn't make a mistake, but they didn't make a run that I couldn't beat. And by that I don't mean when somebody's 5 total, that just is what it is. But there was a door open in those semifinal runs, and I messed it up. So I did a lot of putting the race in my hands this year with how I was driving. We talked about the 5.0 cars. That's how fast I was going all year, and so I was kind of sick of being kind of just sitting duck out there. I felt like at times. So I changed up how I was driving. I tried to do something a little different every weekend. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But that was it. I wasn't just going to let somebody else dictate how the year was going to go or how my race was going to go. If I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose it. Or if I'm going to win, I was vice versa. Live by the sword, die by the sword was the mentality of it.
An interesting concept too. And I jump on this because as we're talking about it, right? So in the nature of where you're racing, right? It's a similar group of people every weekend, as much as the Super Tour, Luskville, Napierville as the 3 spots. Yep. The group that you're racing with tends to be very similar, right? It's the same 40, 50, 60 racers in the bigger numbers. So the strategy of, they get a lot of looks at you, right? Because again, with the dragster door car split, it's, 40 divided by or 50 divided by, right? So in half. So to mix it up, right? Because it's easy when you start running someone all the time, you get a handle on, you got the scouting report, you know it well. So now, I think one thing I really liked when it changed and when we talked about it, like off the air and things was, I'm going to try something. I'm going to mix it up, give it a bit of different look, right? Like I've done this, right? And they're used to that. Now I'm going to go here. And I thought that was a neat strategy when it came to the local racing, or like if you're running on a scene that's consistently the same racers, right? Mixing it up because now they don't know what's coming at them, right? And that's a big thing, right? When you have a lot of familiarity, particularly in that smaller, or not smaller, but more local aspect.
For sure, right? It's definitely tough, and then that's, like I said, that was the big one for the tour, and that's the only races we really got to do this year as well. Obviously, we did hit Edgewater. That weekend was a write off. We did one race Lancaster. That whole night was kind of hectic thing. So not really the best example of what we can do or what I can do. We did Numidia, did well, was smashed the tree there. And then, made some good runs, just got beat there. I think I made a mistake on the Friday race to put myself out, went red Saturday night. Sunday just flat got beat, but yeah, it was good. So we didn't get to go race as much with everybody else, right? Because of the way that life is right at the moment, which is fine. So you make the best of what you have here, and the tour is the biggest one. So that was kind of, that was our million this year was trying to win the tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it was like the summary of our year was just like, how mentally tough are you? And from like the amount of car struggles we had like with Brandon's cars, I think this was one of the first years that like we went into the season having like, we've always trusted his cars. They've always like pulled through. We've always had faith. Like you always go in and you never second guess it. You're like, it's going to run the number. It's so consistent. Like, it's brought me all of this success. Like that's the car that he won every race in. So it's just never going to fail. Like in your head, you're like, it's getting old, it's getting worn out, but you're like, it just always like, it's same as my car. It's Old Faithful. Like it's just the car that like you honestly think is never going to die. And so like, yeah, right off the hit when like we had car troubles with Brandon, like when we sold that car, like we straight up were like, it was a great car. We probably shouldn't have got rid of it, but like it was like this mental curse that we for ourselves had to get rid of it because we weren't, like we just like mentally we couldn't get past it. It had nothing to do with the car. It's a great car, and like, the guy who bought it, like Butch had a great season. So like it had nothing to do with the car, but I think we struggled mentally a lot because both of us were like, we want to prove ourselves, but then also we don't trust our equipment. So how can you prove yourself and like feel good like racing when you don't trust like the car you're in? And that was one of the first times we've ever really been in that position. So it was humbling to say the least, but we got through it.
That's right.
And obviously like still great results to show for it. So
yeah, in a car that you've not wheeled as much of over the years either. I know you've wheeled the black car, but it's not been the primary setup. So
we said in Edgewater, we were like, this car will not come out of the trailer this season. We were that convinced like the white car was going to be it, and it was out on the first day.
Something heard that and clearly went the other direction.
Yeah.
So then with this plan, and this is fun, right? Because I mean, Rachel's upgrade list, we want to take old reliable and be faster. I've got minor changes I'd like to make, right? But overall, I'm not making a huge shakeup to the program. You've got, what are your thoughts here? Like, what do you want to do with this, right? Because you've had a great year behind the wheel. I mean, we can all talk about how we want to practice more. I would suggest the guy behind the wheel's pretty good. There isn't a heck of a lot you could do to get a lot better. What do you want to do with the car? What will be the game plan with what we've done here so far?
Big thing, obviously, is put the fast engine back in. It's almost done. That's the setup I've wanted to have, right? That's what I wanted to do 2024 with, was going 460s, maybe high 50s, depending on the setup and on the day. That's what the setup I want. That's where, the only real changes that I'm going to make. Obviously, some updates to the car. I've kind of, to a certain point, neglected that thing a little bit because I always had mine, right? So give it some love, give it some updates, but that's the big change is I want to go faster. I want to put myself in a different position on the racetrack. The Super Tour has gotten crazy fast for the most part.
It's unreal quick. Yeah.
We got some 430 cars, a lot of 40 cars, a lot of 50, 450, 460 range. I said earlier, kind of going 5.0s to a certain point, you're kind of stuck out there. There's only so much you can do. I get back in the mix of I can drive everybody and sit beside you. That changes, that puts it more in my wheelhouse of where I want to, for driving the finish line stuff, that changes that whole deal and brings a bunch of tools back that I can use. More ways to mess it up for sure. and will probably happen as I get back into that groove. But I know when I was having a lot more success on the racetrack, I was right in the middle of the field, ET wise, and then was able to drive everyone. So that's where I want to put myself again. Yeah.
Get back into that comfort zone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So been a while. We had fun doing it. I only got to do it like 3 or 4 weekends, going fast again 2 years ago now. But yeah, that's the big one. That's the big change we're making.
Yeah. And that's a big change, right? That's a large combination. So I don't know what that car's had for a history over the years for speed, right? But I mean, you've been that quick. That car's, yeah. So yeah. So this will be one of those things where, you know, it's not an unfamiliar territory. It's just in a different setup for you now, right? So
yeah. So and that's where I talked to, you know, maybe we can get that fast engine up to you. We'll look at some ideas. I have a bunch of ideas in my head. I'm not sure how to execute it quite yet for setups and what I'd like to do, but you know, we'll work on it. We got some ideas and some technical things that I want to try to make it better.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a dragster on methanol is usually really predictable throughout the summer.
Yep.
I have some things I've seen that I think can make it a little bit better for my own program and what I'd like to do. So yeah.
I'm excited to learn off this dyno setup, not to go on that tangent back, but I think it's amazing how much I've picked up on just the bracket racing side of things. I mean, I know they're there to make power, but boy, like I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll get that motor there. We got the key part is don't wear it out before you put it back in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the slippery slope there, right? Where
have fun, but not too much fun.
Yeah, we guys can take it home, re-ring it, rebearing it. It's not been in the car yet. No, it's just been in the
I know. Yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah, just beating it up.
But man, are we making power and consistency, right? So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's about it for our season recaps, right? Like, I feel good about how it was overall. I'm obviously happy with how it went. The only other big thing I would like to change is less middle of the night wake ups with Alex.
Yeah,
that's about it. Yeah.
Back to that conversation.
We went through like the 8-month sleep regression was like right in the peak of the season with like big races. Yeah, would not recommend doing that again. Like
a lot of Miss Rachel at like 3:30 in the morning, and that's how it goes.
God bless Miss Rachel though. Like
I'll give her a shit out where she does deserve. Yeah, Miss Rachel does deserve that shit out.
Yes, 100%. But
this is the scary part. As good as you guys have been all year with all the sleep issues and looking after Alex, when you guys get a good night's rest and get to come back out and racing, you're just going to be deadly. And I do not look forward to it as much as I do look forward to it.
The stamina, we've built our stamina.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Yeah, all over it. But yeah, I think that was decent. I think we all feel good about how our years were. Obviously, you know, I blew my expectations out of the water for how I finished day to day. Would have liked to have seen more win lights at the end of the day, more pictures being taken. I'd like another big check. That's what I'd like. Rach, you had a killer year. We had our struggles as we talked about, but did really good when it counted for what you really wanted to accomplish. So very proud of you, and you should be very proud of yourself. Andrew, it was awesome to watch you turn on win lights. I quite enjoy when I get to sit at home, and then it's not as much fun watching you race when I'm at home, but when you shoot me a message at 10 o'clock at night and you're like, oh yeah, we're down to 8 cars or 4 cars. I'm like, oh yeah, shit, Andrew's racing. Let's go watch that.
Grab YouTube.
That's a lot of fun. I was rooting for you in that dragster race in Bristol when you were down to 4. We got that dragster home, bud. We didn't make it work.
I was already trying to figure out when I let go, and I'm like, oh, that's not red. oh my God, we might figure this out. And I was like, I think Brandon might drop by this off me. I think I've already got a place for it if I get there. Oh
yeah, we were ready for it. But
after that round 1, I was fully prepared to not win, and then the round 2 win really got me back on track. So
open it back up.
You got everyone else. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch that. It's self-explanatory and how that whole ebb and flow went on that one. But that was fun. That was a blast. Now. Oh, absolutely, will, right? If it's on YouTube, it's there forever. But so.
But no, that's all good. That's 2024 pretty much in a nutshell. That's what it was. That's what it looked like for us. What do we got coming up next, Rach? We had a couple banquets.
Yeah, we're starting to plan the Winter Rumble for February.
Mark that down on your calendars. Get that tentative date.
Yeah.
Start of February. We're not 100% on what we're doing yet.
We haven't fully confirmed the date yet, but it will be. It's usually the first week of February. So
just block off February. Just block it off.
Yes.
For the weekends, just Winter Rumble every weekend, right? And if whatever weekend it works out, you got 3 other open weekends, right? So
exactly.
Yeah,
it's all benefit from that.
We're working on doing some pretty cool interviews on the show in the coming episode. So hopefully, we can get some cool people on and
have some fun over the winter.
Yeah. Yes.
Try and make the best of it.
Boring, off season a little more enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's about it. Now we get to work. Race cars are ready to be abused and tore apart again, and I might let them sit for a little bit longer, but we'll see.
I'm already starting to take them apart. It was really difficult. Like I didn't get much this past weekend due to being sick, but like the weekend before, which takes, and it's tough when it's nice. Like I don't want cold.
Yeah.
But I don't need like mid 80s or 70s, wherever the hell it is outside right now, just taunting.
Yeah.
Me as we could be doing this. Apart, right?
I know. We winterized our motorhome, and then it was like beautiful, like the whole week after. Like what the heck?
Yeah. I'm out in the motorhome. Like, I'm worried about pipes freezing. No, I'm worried about stuff melting. It's hot inside that thing in the shop, right?
Yeah.
But so that's where we're at. But 2 weeks from now, probably a different day. Won't be a Tuesday night based on Andrew's schedule. I apologize for those out there. We're not sure what day it's going to be. It won't be a Tuesday though. Yeah, that's kind of what the problem is going to be at that point, right? But 2 weeks, next show might be a Monday, might be a Thursday. We'll figure that out. But,
we'll go from there.
Yes, but excited for it. We'll have some interviews coming up. Might be the Kyle Harris show. We'll touch base with Kyle. I'm throwing that out there now. If Kyle's watching, let's talk about this, figure this out. But nonetheless, looking forward to it. 2 weeks from now, nice double up. I enjoyed this hot lap.
It was good.
Right?
It was really
cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. And we will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. See you later.
Have a good night.
35 years ago, a lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work,
diagnostics and racing transmissions,
performance parts and Jeep upgrades,
automotive detailing,
used car sales,
and towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvy difference.
it's worth the drive.